Hey guys, good morning. I'm actually a little bit early today. 3 minutes, I think. What's happening? I'm at home, chilling. Um, as you know, I think I had this surgery the other day, so not driving for a little bit. I like to think I'll know when I should do that, when it's okay to do that. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Just let me know if the audio is good. I think it is. I always double check now just in case there's a snafu or something, and so somebody let me know you can hear me loud and clear. Yes, we can, says Mark. That's all I need to hear. Awesome. So yeah, crazy, man. This has been the most profound thing, this eye operation. It's like very little. I wouldn't call it pain. It's definitely, I'm pretty fragile at the moment. This whole area. It's not really painful. It's just like swelling and more like discomfort, but I wouldn't classify it as pain. So that's nice. It's a little like, like muscle ache, like that's kind of the sensation, and it feels like you've got 10 eyelashes in your eye all the time, that kind of thing. Your eyes are watering and stuff, and that's happening. But that's all to be expected and just normal, and it's not really that bad. Very manageable. And I mean, you can probably, I think, kind of tell right now that my eye is straighter. My eyes are really red still, and it'll take time to settle into whatever the position it's going to be. But it's definitely a process. So the biggest thing that I'm noticing that's really wild is because I put out that little video the other day on Instagram. I just uploaded it as a short to YouTube as well, where I was describing some of the things that I'm going through and things that I learned. One of the things is to get out and walk around, be outside. So like even right now I'm seeing it, like as I'm doing this with my hand, like one of the biggest things that I'm noticing, it's so weird for me is I guess it would be depth. What you guys, probably a lot of you out there that just see normal, most people are used to, but this sort of I'm having more like a sense of three dimensions, three-dimensional. I don't know if I would call, I don't think I'm seeing stereo, like the same out of both eyes, but my brain's definitely getting more information and doing things with it, and that's just like fascinating. It's like, to give, I was talking to my buddy John Button, who's so great, my bass player buddy that plays in the Who and stuff. And John is my rock solid buddy that when I need somebody, he's always there for me, for things like, hey, can you drive me to this operation and then pick me up and take me home? Because of course they you have to have a ride. They won't let you just go after you've been, sedated, put under, and heavy, general anesthetic and all that. So, and John, he's for whatever reason, our schedule is always aligned. Anytime I've needed to do that, which is a few times over the last 10 or 15 years, he's always there for me. So he's my go-to hospital caretaker guy, and he's just so wonderful that way. But anyway, I was talking to him this morning because of course he drove me home the other day, and he said, so, what's it like? And I said, it's like, this three-dimensional thing is wild. Like just walking around, and I'm doing this with my hands because it's like, that's the periphery of, in my peripheral vision, seeing what my hands look like. It's so bizarre. And more like there's a spatial dimension thing going on that I just didn't have before. It's very exciting. It's like, it's really fun to just go out and walk down the sidewalk and like look at, try and follow the bricks or whatever, the, concrete going down the sidewalk. If there's like a line where the blocks are connected, and I'm kind of looking at it with both eyes now and then seeing whatever's going by. It sounds so crazy, but so John was like, yeah, it's like you've given yourself this other, like, what's the word? Like another sensory perception that you just didn't have before, that you've kind of now at my age, like you've done this thing that allows you to have that. It's kind of crazy. It is really crazy. I didn't think most of the documentation, if anybody's had this done or if anybody considering having it done, there's a lot of kind of like stuff out there about how, you won't be able to, get stereo vision, and that's not really, it's mostly a cosmetic procedure and that kind of thing. And I think that's actually kind of false. Like I'm not that I'm seeing, I don't think I'm seeing like I say stereo, but I'm definitely seeing different. And my eyes, now that it's not turned in and just pointing at whatever my left eye was mostly pointing at, it's over here now. And and it's using that information. I'm definitely getting stuff that's completely different. It's fascinating. Just go out and walk around and look at the trees and like very sunny day here today. So my shadow was shining off to the right, way out to the right to me. That would be normal to you guys. It's like, oh yeah, of course you can see it out of your right eye. Well, to me, I probably wouldn't have noticed that. Like, something like it's shooting way over to the right, super far. I just feel like the vision, the field is so much wider. It's just really interesting. So I'm actually like this whole phase of like not kind of really being able to do that much and being a little fragile and then a little bit of not what I would call pain, but discomfort and just tired, needing to sleep and stuff. I'm actually really enjoying it. it's like really, really fun. Yeah, it is fun. It's like it's sort of like fascinating. And because it's going well, I think, I'm not having many complications, I don't think, so far or anything like that. It's actually like, I'm actually like really enjoying it. So, anyway, had you been able to see normal before? Well, so I always describe my vision before as seeing out of my left eye like this, everything. And then my right was some little stuff over here, although my right works, because I have extreme myopia, so nearsightedness, and my right is considerably worse than my left. So what happened, I guess, is my left, it was the early 70s, when I got my first glasses, and it was like, who knows how long I went for as a child. I mean, I had glasses at 1 year old, but still I went a whole year not being able to see anything. Who knows what my brain was doing, in 1971, when, you're newborn, and then you're like, your brain's trying to deal with whatever's happening. And I couldn't really stop. It was obvious to my parents. I was like basically blind by the time, I was crawling into things and stuff, I guess. And somehow they got me a prescription, when I was about 8 months old, I think, and I would take the glasses off and throw them across the room, my sister tells me. And that was a pain in the ass. But anyway, long story short, my brain wasn't really getting the information, and my right eye was so much worse than my left that who knows what my brain was processing and how it dialed in. So what happens sometimes is when you've got one eye that's better than the other one just sort of goes, and it's a lazy eye, right? It essentially turns in, and just kind of the left just took over because it was better, stronger, even though it was screwed up too. It kind of took over, and my brain just started processing the information from the left eye, and the right just, strabismus is one thing, a lazy eye is another thing. It's actually like two problems, all compounded by the myopia and my astigmatism and everything. I'm all screwed up. Like my eyes that was my one, pretty healthy guy otherwise, but that was my one, major issues. So from birth. So anyways, yeah, so I always say that my left was like this, and my right was just some stuff going on in an image. But it was almost, I'm sort of maybe realizing now what was going on was, it was just sort of pointed at whatever my left was also seeing. So, there was an image there, but however my brain had dialed it in and processed it, it's like my left's seeing this, my right's basically seeing the same stuff, and a little bit of peripheral because it was so turned in, right? So now that we've taken it and it's basically moved out. So here's the other interesting thing that happened. Sorry, I'm going to talk about this a lot today because it's just I want to get into some guitar stuff too, because we got that to talk about, but I'm just going to get through this. I'm excited about it, and I'm being very selfish, but anyways, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought a little bit, but anyway, moving the eye out. Oh yeah. Okay. I know where I was going with that. So the doctor told me the other day, about 2 weeks ago, when I had a consultation, that he said, look, I think here's the sort of throwing a bit of a wrench in the works for this operation that we've got scheduled. I think when I move your right eye, I'm going to maybe have to do your left eye too. I was like, whoa, what do you mean? Because we'd only talked about doing the one eye. And he said, well, you're not just you don't just have strabismus in your one eye, it's both eyes. When you move your right eye over, your left goes and follows in a kind of a unnatural, weird way. They don't go together. It would drift up and over when my right was centered. So essentially, this operation consisted of me having, and he said, I said, okay, well, what are you going to have to do then? He said, well, what I'm going to have to do is under anesthesia, they go and they move my right eye, which involves, basically you're either tightening or loosening muscles that control your right eye. So you might cut a muscle on one side and then tighten one on the other side, move it, suture, and it's all sutures. Crazy how they do this stuff, that they even know how to do it. But anyway, they move the right one over, and then you're under anesthesia. But my brain for years has been wired however it's wired, and the left is going to do something at that point. And he sees, like, I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I'm going to have to see once I've done the right eye, put it where I think it should be, what your left eye has done, and now I need to go and adjust it. And he said, I need your permission to do that. Otherwise, it'd kind of be like, if I just give him permission to work on, so the major concern with that is that I basically have one good eye, right? My left is the one that's done the heavy lifting for all these years. I see corrected about 20/25 out of my left eye. And as good as I can ever get, it seems to be about 20/40 out of the right corrected, because it's just so much more nearsighted. So I basically have one good eye. So that, he's basically was asking for permission to work on my one good eye. It's always, there's risk, complications, a little bit scary and all that stuff. So, I basically said, like, I quizzed him a lot on how many of these he's done and how, how his success rate, and I really liked this guy. He seemed like really just super confident. He spent a lot of time with me, talking to me. He was great, answering all my questions. And I just said to him, I said, look, in my line of work, I like it when people let me do my thing, like, because I'm not good at a lot of things in life, but I'm kind of an expert at one thing. I know how to do one thing, and it's like I said, I'm at my best when I'm left to my devices. When somebody says, "Here's the job. This is what we're giving you. Go to it," and I do it as best I can in the way I know how, and I don't micromanage, or I'm not micromanaged by others, And so I said to him, I said, if I give you that kind of permission, like what to do, what you think you should do, what's that going to be? What's that going to look like? And he said, I want to do both eyes. I want to go in and do the one, see where the other one's at, do it, put it exactly where I think it should be. That would be, otherwise I'm going to feel like I did half an operation. I said, okay, let's do that, which was scary. It was very scary for me, but that was essentially the conversation and the decision. And right before I went under the other day, and I was lying on the gurney, getting ready to get wheeled in, he came over and spoke to me again, this doctor. And I can't emphasize enough, I really like this guy's demeanor and how, you could tell he was just had this weight about, he was like, okay, not a lack of confidence, but just knew the gravity that he was going to work on this other eye of mine. He's like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the one, and if I don't have to, I won't touch the other one. And I said, hey, do your thing. You know what to do. I said, I don't want to come back. I don't want to do this and go get put under again and stuff. You know what to do. Just do it. Go for it. I was like, just do it. And he said, okay. And then, next thing I know, I'm on a gurney getting wheeled in and getting the, propofol or whatever they give you, whatever it's called. And, oh, everything's amazing now. And then the next thing, you're waking up. Right. And I woke up and it was over, and, I was as high as a kite, but they got the doctor on the phone and handed me the phone. And he had to go somewhere right after the operation. Who knows how long I was out? A couple hours at least. And then you're coming out of it. You have no sense of time or what happened. And I got him on the phone, and he said, everything went really good, man. It's great. I worked on both eyes, and he's like, I'm happy. He said something like that. I can't remember because I was, anyway. Oh, that's good. Okay, cool. All right. So I've got a consultation with him to, a follow-up appointment so that he can look at everything and see where it's at tomorrow morning. So I'll see him tomorrow. But so the last, 36 hours or so since then has just been this fascinating kind of little bit of a journey of, just navigating this whole new thing. And And I've got this, I can't wait to see this guy again, because I've just got this mad respect for, for what he does. Usually this is done, when quite young. He's primarily a pediatric doctor, because so far advanced now and stuff, and they do this on kids all the time. He does about 100 a year, and I just got thinking about how profound it is, because I've been through it my whole life, knowing what I've dealt with, and now sensing what I'm experiencing, and how at least I hope and I think it's going to turn out. What a profound job he has, that he basically changes people's lives in such what a great profession. Like I say, my job is to make people happy, at least as a performing musician, going out and playing. I mean, I guess we have fun on the internet and stuff like that too. But as a performer, you make people forget about their troubles for a couple hours. They come see a show, listen to some music, and it's good times. And I love that job. It's basically to make people happy for a bit. This guy changes people's lives for good. Like what a gig. So I can't wait to see him and talk to him. But okay, so I've got a bunch of super chats here I got to get to. I'm going to step back through let's get into some guitar stuff too. We'll jump around. We'll talk about guitar, and we'll talk about this as well, if anybody's interested in it. But what overdrive or boost do you use for the PT15 Live? I used a Tumnus, but seems to add too much treble. That's interesting. You've got the tone control on there, though. You can dial it back, right? I've never had that. I generally run a little past noon, actually. I've actually been kind of on my Klon style drives, been goosing the treble a little more lately. But I don't use a Tumnus. I use a Archer, although I like the Tumnus. I've done video on it, and really good. I either use an Archer or a Unobtainium from Crazy Tube Circuits, they're both like Klons, and they both sound very similar to me, to be honest. So, but yeah, you've got that tone control. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's other things about it that you don't jive with. I mean, you could always try a Screamer 808 style and just try dialing that tone control way down below noon, but I do like Klons, and I don't find them to be overly bright necessarily. And I like pushing the treble. Actually, I like kind of the excitement it gives when I push the treble control up a little bit more than I even did in the past lately. Andy, coffee medication for you, Mr. Peter. Thank you. Or coffee medication for you. I am drinking a delicious coffee right now. I went walking a lot, like I said, getting out and walking, and because that was suggested that I do that after this procedure. So I've been out walking around for the last 2 days straight and getting coffee. I got 2 coffees this morning. So I'm friggin' wired right now, if you can't tell. Anyways, people just asking random questions here. So you're not able to drive? No. Thanks for those super chats, guys. No, not able to drive. Like I say, I think I know when I mean, if there was an emergency, I could drive right now. That's the way I feel. But I don't feel like I want to drive right now, because everything's changed a little bit visually. So, and I feel like I'll know. One thing is I can't put my contacts in either. So I always feel more comfortable with contacts than glasses driving. So, yeah, I'm just realizing, let's see, I've got my eyes so red right now that you're not really going to be able to see it, but I've got the screen mirrored right now. So, yeah. Anyways, okay, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to grab all the super chats, because I really appreciate those guys. Thanks so much. Thanks for that one there, Carl. Sorry, my eyes are a little dodgy right now too. Just got a lot of like tears happening from the, they're just a little like irritated. So there was one more super chat there that I've missed. Let me grab this one. Dylan, you've spoken about setting an amp's bias to voltage regulator usage. So, such as Variac. Is this to optimize tone, or is it for the sake of the amp's health? I would say both. The amp is sort of optimized to work in a certain, with the bias set a certain way. And when you drop the voltage with the Variac, now you're, I guess, under biased, or it's super cold. So you can crank the bias up more. Because the less voltage, that's what's going to happen. So yeah, long story short is you want to sort of bias the amplifier, in the range that it wants to be, both for the tone and for the amp health. So, although you're not going to hurt anything with it being low, with the bias being low, I don't think. It'd be more if it was cranked up too high, too hot. but it should sound better. You know, set. I think most amp guys will agree with that. Whatever sounds good to you, though, too. You know, I mean, other than, you know, don't crank the bias too high because you're just going to cook tubes, and that's pointless. But yeah. Thanks for that super chat. Major congratulations. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Have you had a chance to investigate new EVH 5150 non-tube amp? No, I saw that came out, though, and that was a surprise. I had no idea that was coming, actually. Would like to try it and see. I should ask Matty Brock. Give it a go. Yeah. Yep. I mean, it sounded good in the video I saw on Instagram. Anyway, I don't know if that's a true, you know, it's Instagram, but Frankie Lindia was playing it. It sounded really good, I thought. Have you noticed them putting attenuators in quite a few factory amps these days? Not really. There's the Tone King that's got an attenuator. I've seen them in some Marshall stuff. I don't really know how it's implemented. I guess Mesa has it. I don't really know what they're doing. I know the Tone King one is a true reactive. It's like the Tone King attenuator, so it should be pretty good, you know. A lot of you know, if an amp's designed with a good master volume, you don't really need an attenuator. You know, but for example, like let's take the SL68 or SL15 or 67. The way that master is implemented, there's very little difference in tone between the amp cranked on 10 and say turned down to a nice sort of, you know, reasonable gig volume for a 100-watt amp. You know, we all know there's a plexi wide open is like, can't play them anywhere these days, but you can get the SL68 down to a good club volume, no problem with the master, and the tone changes very little. You know, maybe when you get it all the way down to bedroom level, but even then they sound really good. It's like the master on a Plex, you know, by Friedman. They're very good. You know, the amp's super fun to play, and all the vibe is there with the master turned way down to even when you're like practice volume. So the added kind of, you know, to do an attenuator properly is like, it's a lot of stuff, you know, when it to soak up all that juice coming off the amp. And plus you're driving the amp really hard. You're driving the tubes really hard, using tubes faster and stuff like that. I just sort of don't like another great one I have is the Bad Cat Era 30, which is like, you know, the sort of modern take on the classic Bad Cat DC 30, I guess, and with a bunch of modern new features and stuff. I love that amp lately. It's like a great modern AC 30 kind of vibe with other things going on. It's got a post-phase inverter master in it, as well as the individual channel masters. So you've got the gain control on each channel, and then you've also got a master on each channel that lets you really control sort of how hard you're driving into the phase inverter. It'd be a pre-phase inverter sort of master that, you know, so you can kind of set the tightness and the squish. And then the overall volume level of the amp, you've got a post-phase inverter master that you can use. Works great. So, yeah. And I just think that all that stuff is, to me, I don't know. It works well in the Tone King, but, you know, that Tone King makes a great standalone attenuator, probably the best standalone attenuator. That's a suck juice off the output of the amplifier style attenuator, not a tube reamp style thing like the Power Station. You know, and other than the Tone King, I don't know how everybody else is doing it and implementing it, but, you know, it's an expensive, weighty, sort of difficult proposition to put an amp, and I don't think it's really necessary if the amp's got properly designed masters. That's what I think. Can you give us a CRS set list hint? So that's Classic Rock Show going over to do in January. I don't want to give it away because it's super fun. We got a bunch of fun new stuff. It's Joe calling me. You know what? I'll call him back after the. Yeah, it'd be inappropriate for me to take it while I'm on a live stream. But I am going to message him. Hi, Joe. Come on. About an hour. Joe. just on live stream. Cool. Give him a ring back. Comments, all kinds of super chats here. Got to get to all this. Speaking of the SL68, which I own and love, do you prefer using the master on the back of it or running into the 2 notes reload too? Yeah, you've got it figured out, actually, there, Rick. I've done both. I don't know what I'm losing or gaining on either. Exactly. You kind of go, well, but the master sounds pretty good. Like maybe I don't need the attenuator. And that's the way I feel about it. The one thing you're not going to get is the voltage sag swing thing quite as much, So like when you're diming into the power section, the amp runs out of available voltage and it just does this sag thing. That's kind of magic. And that's a cool thing. But the distortion that you get from the post phase inverter master is really cool. You're getting most of, I don't believe the power tubes distort that much on a plexi. I believe what happens is the voltage runs out and you get the sag of the, I think that's what's happening. You do get a bit more haze and stuff. And I guess that's a little power tube grind as you're absolutely diming into them. But most of what happens, I think, when you're diming into the plexi and you don't have a post-phase inverter master is that the volt, you can hear it kind of just run out of steam and it collapses down and then comes back up when you attack really hard, and it does that thing. That's a really, really cool thing. But you get most of that juicy thing, because a big part of it diming into the power is the phase inverter tube is getting slammed and distorting. So you're not getting the voltage part of it. Yes, I will say that, but it's that's about the only thing, and it's not as big of a thing, I don't think, as the distorted phase inverter. The distorted phase inverter thing is huge. And so when you put a master volume after the phase inverter, you're still getting all of that. So hopefully that makes sense. And I think you've got it kind of figured out, Rick, by going, if I run into the reload, it sounds really similar as if I just used the master. Might be a little different, but it's not a night and day, so, and not a deal breaker. So yeah. And this is Peter is interesting here with this whole thing about bias and and the variacs, and the hot bias is key in low voltage. Yeah, not even hot, right? Just biased up to where it's supposed to be gives you that great hazy, juicy thing that if it's kind of cold, it just doesn't, the variac, it's not enough to just turn the variac down. It's like you got to get the bias up there, and then it sounds really cool. I run my SL68 in variac mode, like the 90 volt mode, all the time. That's like the only way I use it, basically. Unless I'm going for a really high headroom clean, I run it. I just like the sound better in the 90 volt mode, to be honest. So currently experimenting with recording RX and RJ with AVY, playing both simultaneously. Any tips on panning and blending? That's interesting. Like kind of 2 amps in stereo, but doing it in a virtual amp sort of way. How you might use delay. I don't know, actually. I mean, that's a really interesting. You could get into using a mixer, and there's all kinds of ways you could do it. Like running the preamps into a mixer and then sending out to effects and returning back in and taking a stereo out of the mixer. That would be one thing that you could experiment with, almost like you're, like a, what I mean, like a small, like a rack mount, like a Mackie style mixer or something like that. But interesting idea. See what you discover. I don't have any. I've never tried that particular, like two sort of. It's almost like running 2 amps at the same time, but doing it in a virtual way. It's interesting. Yeah. Mark says, don't forget to smash that like button. I won't repeat the last sentence. Satch calling about the upcoming G3 tour. We'll see. Yeah, it was Joe. I'll hit him back after the live stream. But Joe Perry, Hey, did anybody? I guess I might have talked about this already, but I kind of like that Youngblood Aerosmith song. They're pretty good. Great chorus. Speaking of Joe Perry. I'm guilty of making an insensitive comment when I first saw you years ago. You're super chatting me now. I appreciate you. I feel bad about it back then. That's okay, man. It's okay. Hey, it's all right. You know, it's to say you're sorry is a massive. It's something that not enough people. Mad respect for anybody that apologizes for anything these days. You know, to be honest. So here's to you. Thank you. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. Believe me, I've heard bullshit my whole life, so none of it. It tends to just go like this, you know, like it's about the eye thing. It's gonna be. I'm gonna miss it now. It's gonna feel weird to. Anyway, I'm sure people will find other things to make, fun of me about. So, yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. I just paired the Fractal AM4 to the VP4 via SPDIF digital length, and it's amazing. That's cool. Have you checked out the AM4? I haven't. It seems really powerful and really. I've got VP4. I've been using it on my board in Japan, which worked out great. But I haven't checked out the AM4. What I wonder, does the AM4? What's the downside? Like, does it have all the effects of the VP4? Because if it does, I was sort of confused. It's almost like, well, now they've released this thing that's got full amp modeling in it. Does it have like the full effects available too? Because if so, they've kind of almost like the VP4 now isn't, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to say it's obsolete, but maybe it doesn't have as many effects or as much effects capability. I'm just not sure. I know it does have 4 cable capability though, which the VP4, if you do 4 cable, then you lose the front end. Like you can't do front end effects as well as post effects. It's one or the other. You either use it for, or does that make sense? Like if you do the stereo thing with it, it's got to be post, or you can go 4 cable with it, but then it's got to be mono. And that's what I'm trying to say. Whereas I don't think that's the case with the AM4. I think you can actually do both. Am I right? I think. Did I get distracted? Oh yeah, I did. Sorry, Kathy, with the CRS, because that's when Joe called. I think. I didn't want to talk about the CRS set list because it's always fun. It's a fun surprise, but there's a lot of great. Like it's going to be really fun set this year. That's what I think. So there's a nice combination of songs that we've done before, but there's some great new stuff that we've never played. And I think really good additions. I'm super excited about a number of the songs. So I think it's just going to be really fun. And I think it's going to go over great, especially in the UK with songs that we've picked. And just be, yeah, some of them are really fun for me to play on the guitar. Like not virtuoso guitar playing, but just really cool parts. I'm enjoying it. So getting into it. I'm actually working on learning songs for the CRS tour here, sitting here in this chair. I've got my quad cortex down and my feet below me. I made 4 simple sounds, and I got all the songs on my laptop, which I'm on right now. And I got a couple of Atom monitors sitting here and my little Apollo Twin, and it's all I need to work on songs. So let me grab I'll show you my guitar that I'm sitting here playing on right now, just because it's fun and beautiful. Let's have a little guitar show and tell for a few minutes, why don't we? There it is. The Ola. Back from Japan and in good shape. Love this thing so much. Just a fantastic variant on the good old Les Paul. And here's a fun guitar that you guys have never seen. This is a little Taylor that's kind of like a 3/4 size. And this is just such a fun guitar to really nice guitar to just sit on the couch and just jam on. It's just a terrific little couch player, it's kind of small. It's like neck is a little tiny, but it's not a baby. It's like a 3/4 size, not a baby Taylor, and it's a full on like really nice woods and everything that it's. Yeah. So anyway, that's my little home acoustic that I just kind of keep around on the couch and just to sit and jam on. Yeah. What else we got here? Did I miss any super chatties? I'm not sure. I hope not. There's one. So happy for you, Pete. You are more confident. You were already the man, though. Joe, thank you, man. I have the Yamaha HS5 monitors. I love them, but want a sub. Oh, you want like a subwoofer? I'm not sure about those because I've never used a sub. I always try and get by without them. The monitors I have here at home are the T5. I think they're called from Atom. They're like the cheap Atoms, which sound just great to me for sitting here and playing. And at work, I'm now using the Barefoot Footprint 03s. So those are my monitor recommendations right now. And thank you for the super chat. Are you familiar with the Bonfire AC/DC tribute there in LA? They opened for Zakk Wylde's Zach Sabbath band at House of Blues in Myrtle Beach. Excellent. No, I mean, I've heard of them, but I've never seen them play. So would love to hear them sometime. I like a good AC/DC band. I used the Fractal AM4, says Rummy. On a pit gig, the music director and front house both loved how it sounded. The mix, I found it easy to program and feels great to play. Hey, what's not to like then? That's fantastic. Excuse me. Let's see here. So happy you took the leap and everything went well. Knock on wood. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Exciting. I'm stoked. Speedy recovery, says Marty Bucat. Sorry, my eyes are a little. It's more just like I've got a lot of tears right now, so they're a little blurry. Speedy recovery, and tell us how you feel playing guitar. Fine, actually, sitting here and practicing. That's easy. No problems with that. AM4 does not have the pitch block or the plex. Okay, that's interesting. Didn't know that. So thanks for educating me on that. Yeah, that's some stuff that I definitely use. The plex reverb sounds amazing. The spring in it is great. Like the effects are really good in the VP4. No pitch mod effects on the AM4. Okay, it's using because that's some power that it uses. So I guess they'd pair well together then. I got the VP4. I want to take DI out of power station of VP4. Okay, DI out of power station of VP4. Use an IR block and effects, and then go USB to computer. Does it work with low latency? That should work fine, I would think. I'm not sure exactly what the latency is. You'd have to look it up, but different people are more or less sensitive to latency. I don't have any issues with any of the modern, the Quad Cortex as an interface, for example. Works great for me. I don't have problems with the latency at all. I'm sure everything is getting down to being, at least sub 2 milliseconds at this point. And to me, it's fine. Everything's a trade-off. I mean, there's always if anything short of a full-blown stereo stack rig with your amps of choice and effects and everything is always a trade-off. So right. So a little bit of latency doesn't bother me, generally speaking. But it's gotten so low that, remember the days where it was like you had to set your buffer at 256 in the computer or anything, or the computer would start crapping out, and that would give you like 10 milliseconds of latency. And it's like, now I set my buffer to 64 or even 32 now in my computer, and it doesn't usually even hiccup. 64 is fine for me. I've probably got, at that point, I don't know how much, 5 milliseconds, 7 milliseconds maybe by the time it's coming out of the monitors. It doesn't bother me. So you guys are talking about some more of the limitations here, but here's a different question. PT50 coming. So we had a good meeting about it just kind of midway through my whole Japan tour experience when I came back for a couple of weeks at one point. So that was a month or so ago. Great meeting. the things are moving forward. It's taking time. It's not going to be at NAMM or anything like that. You're not going to see it then. But I think what we will see is this coming year, it's taking shape, and whether or not we choose to, whether or not it's a release a year from NAMM or whether it's sometime in the fall of, we'll see. But I'm hoping I've got something to play. Yeah, the goal. I wouldn't. I'm on tour anyway, so if I had something next summer, that we can start to, because then I gotta dial in the final, like, okay, you get it. Oh, I wish this was different. I wish that was different. We dial things in. So that's kind of the timeline, but it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a great amp. Which Atom monitors are you using? So they're the I think they're called T5. I'll show you what they look like. They're like this one, that little guy. They're about $3.99 each, I think. I had a set of Dynaudios here and one crapped out on me. Need to get repaired, and I just needed speakers, and I was like, I'm just gonna go get some of those Atoms because I like Atoms. I was never, to be totally honest, crazy about the Dynaudios anyway. They were the BM, I think BM5 or BM6 Mark IIIs, maybe 5 Mark III, something like that. And these sound better to me. I like these little Atoms, so they're good. And I always used Atom A7Xs for many years at the studio. I've now moved to Barefoot Footprint 03s at the studio, but and those are working out great. But these sound just fine for at home. I'm not doing anything critical here, so yeah, good basic speakers. Are you going to play Lazy from Deep Purple? We're definitely, we always do some Deep Purple every year, so that'll happen. But I'm not going to tell you what. What else? Do you ever mess around with other tunings? Somebody was just asking, and then I just lost the comment because the chat jumped. There it is. Yeah, I love to mess around with other tunings. One of my favorites is like the Rain Song tuning. So like all three, all 3 low strings or just the bottom 2 go down a whole step? Can't remember if the D goes down a whole step. I think it does, actually. The 4th string, not a D anymore if you change the tuning. And then the B string goes up a half step to C. Love that tuning. That's just one off the top of my head. Yeah, sometimes when writing, it's really fun to change the tunings up. What else we got here? Fury9712 says, I'm about to start playing music in my church. Haven't played out much in a while up till now. Curious if you had any tips for learning songs or remembering parts. Figure out the pace that you can work at, how many songs you can learn a day, and then stick to that, and then just budget enough time. That's what I recommend. So for me, that tends to be about comfortably. I mean, I've done more. I've learned one time in 48 hours. I learned like 24 songs. But that was insane. But I would say comfortably for me, I like to learn a few a day. So what I'll do is I'll go over like 3 tunes and kind of get them, pretty good, and then stop that for the day. And then I'll come back the next day and review those 3, and I'll go like, how did that go again? I can't even remember. And then it's like all of a sudden it locks in and I get it the next morning or whatever. So I'll go over those 3 again. Oh yeah, that's how it goes. Okay. And then you still might have some things on those 3 to kind of like, exact solos or things to brush up, but you've sort of got the gist. Then do 3 more that day. And then I do the same thing the next morning. I come back and I do, maybe I review the first 3 and I'm getting them better. Then I do the 3 I did, so that maybe takes like an hour. Do the 3 I did the second day. Then I'll do 3 more. So I might do that 3 days in a row or 4 days in a row. So by then you've got like 9 tunes. And then I spend a day reviewing. Maybe take a break actually for a day after that. But then just spend a day reviewing those 9. Then I'll come back and add another 3. And then another 3 like that. And then I'll, do the review day, that whole thing. And then pretty soon before you know it, it's like, wow, I've learned 25 songs, But that might take 2 weeks, right? It depends on maybe you can do 4 or 5 a day comfortably, Maybe you can only do 2. So you have to kind of budget and figure out what you got to just get into it. I like to make a folder like on my desktop that has all the songs in it. Like right now I'm learning all the songs for CRS. It's got all the songs in it. So we've started a thing where there's a band Dropbox now. All the songs go in to the Dropbox, then you can just download them. So I've got those all, and then I've got a separate folder that actually has like isolated parts, like you could find really easily now. People have done them all, you know, on YouTube, like isolated guitar from such and such a song, you know, because people are using the you know, Moises and, you know, Logic and different software that you can use to isolate just the guitars and stuff. You can go in and do it yourself using Moises, whatever, like export an MP3 at just the guitar part. And I've got a folder of those now too. So a folder of all the songs on my desktop, folder of isolated stuff. And then I tend to use a program called Transcribe, which is a $50 piece of software. It's a phrase trainer that lets me loop sections of songs easily. You know, you load a MP3 into it or WAV file or whatever. You can see the waveform of the whole song, and then you push play and it plays the song, and then you can, you know, focus in just on one section and loop it if you want to. You can change the key. You can slow it down. You can do a karaoke thing where it removes the center channel. So if the guitars are panned left and right, that's cool. So you can suck the lead vocal out. Just if you you know, instead of using Moises or whatever to isolate the guitar, you can just do a quick kind of like, let me just hear the guitar a little better sort of thing. So it's got all that built in, and it's great. So that's kind of how I do it. I use Transcribe, get a little bit organized with a folder with all the songs in it, do a few a day, figure out, you know, what my pace is that I can work at. That's about it. Those are my recommendations. Eric says, congratulations on the surgery. Best wishes for a speedy recovery. Any thought on the Fishman Airlock GT wireless system? Don't know anything about that one. Sorry. Digital out on the receiver, which is a cool feature. I haven't tried that one. Sorry. Does it work in the 2.3 or 5 point something sort of cell phone bands, similar to the Shure? I wonder. Or is it more like in the traditional? If it works in the, you know, cell phone bands, varying degrees of success. People have had, you know, issues at times with those in a professional kind of situation. You know, it's a certain, you go to a casino or something where there's a lot of Wi-Fi and things, and then all of a sudden your guitar starts dropping out. It's the only thing you want to be aware of. So just know that wireless is a real, you have to be, before you buy one, you have to be cognizant of kind of what your gig is and where you're going to be playing and what your needs are. Because if you're like me and you travel to around the world and you play different places and things like that, the kind of the cell phone band wirelesses, it wouldn't cut it. They just won't work. Many times on the gigs that I do, it's out of my hands what wireless frequency I'm on. They actually want to set that. There's a person whose job it is to actually do that, to find the free bands and then allocate them all. Because when you're in a touring band where there's a lot of wireless going on, everybody's on in-ears, you know, so there's guitar, bass, maybe two guitars all on wireless packs. Many times they want to do the scan, you know, and control which frequencies are allocated to which player, and for all that stuff. So if you're like, oh, well, my wireless doesn't really do that, it just automatically picks a frequency, they don't like that. So you got to be aware of that. So for me, I just came to the conclusion that my options for touring are either I rent locally, the wireless that the production says I should get, a Shure that works in these bands, because that works in our country, in Japan or whatever. That's what incidentally, what I was just doing in Japan. You know, I had a rented Shure digital, didn't take my Axion. I could have, but they tend to, you know, they tend to like to just do their thing with wireless over there. And so it's a very restrictive country when it comes to rules surrounding, you know, they've got their own version of broadcast, you know, FCC regulation stuff and everything. So I kind of just let them deal with it. And then I gain stage the wireless to sound as much like a cable as I can. Good Shure wireless always works for me. But anyway, that's my wireless diatribe. I'm not familiar with the Fishman system, but I'm a longtime Shure user. Yeah. Okay, what else? Tell us about the PT90 pickup. Yeah, I love it. It's a P90 basically that's not too hot and not too weak. You know, it's wound up around, it's probably 8.5K, something like that. Like good punchy P90. Tried a hotter one. tried 2 different degrees of hotter ones actually that the Sir guys wound up for me, and I liked them, but they were getting too far in the direction of a humbucker to me, as far as the really fun to play, but I didn't want to completely lose that, because basically what I was trying to do was improve upon a Strat style single coil bridge pickup, which always seems to be the weak link on a Strat. I wanted, single coil tonality, but with more punch and balls, and like you hit the bridge and it's like, yeah, that's fun. But where usually when you hit the bridge on a Strat, it's like, it's a little thin, but cool. I'll add an overdrive to it, and then it'll be, right. There's always that thing, and then the neck pickup's really cool in the middle and in between positions. The bridge is like, maybe I'll roll down the tone control on it a little. Wire the middle tone control to it to try and warm it up a bit, because a bit ice peak, like all that stuff was what I was trying to avoid. So the PT90 definitely takes care of all that. Like, it's just great. You hit the bridge and it's like this great rock and tone, but it's a single coil. It's fat single coil. So yeah, didn't want to wind it too hot. Didn't want to go too far, because I've already got a guitar with a humbucker in the HSS model, so I didn't want to go in that direction too much, where it's hot as a humbucker, where it's kicking as a humbucker, as MIDI as a humbucker. Still wanted it to be single coil, but just more nuts than a Strat. So that's what the PT90 is, just a good P90 basically in a humbucker housing. Try one in another. If you could order one and put it in another Sir build. You could do a different pickup, a single in the neck and a P90 in the bridge or something. It'd probably be fun, but I really like it. So yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. I bought that UAD Ruby, and it does everything I want pretty much all the time. UAD Ruby's great, man. That's the AC30 one. It's like just a great, I was able to kind of nail the Brian May thing with it, I thought. And I did a little video for him, a short, where I'm playing like some Queen, and I thought it sounded just killer in that. Good pedals. And the Lion does great Eddie, really good. Like, they're cool amp style pedals for sure. Oh, this is interesting. I've never tried these. I love the Atom H200 headphones. Shockingly good. I'd love to try those. I didn't even know they had headphones, to be honest. I'd love to give them a go, because I've liked the speakers for a long time. CBR says, congrats, Pete. Super happy for you. And the procedure seems like a perfect time to chill and recover. 2026 is already looking brighter. Cheers. Thanks. It's been a hell of a year for me, 2025. A lot of bad stuff in the world right now, but I got to be honest. I've had, selfishly, just what a year it's been. So a close friend has scored a record deal, and thanks for the super chat there. 09 Records. I appreciate that very much. He's a GIT grad, and the album will have another high-profile GIT alum. He's invited me to contribute to the album, and I'm riddled with anxiety. Any tips? Oh, well, do what you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable to contribute. Like, maybe you can get tracks in advance, come up with some ideas, like, so that you can feel a little more comfortable whenever you're laying it down. Maybe you can lay down your ideas from your own studio, and then you've got time to kind of, obsess over it. No, don't do that. But you know what I mean? Like, you can put enough time in and thought and everything into it from home, and just do what you need to make yourself feel comfortable. That's what I would say. Yeah, you don't want to go into it anxious. That's no way to do it. Let's see. Yeah, this is true. Thanks for the super chat there. But I would just say, just be kind to yourself. That's my number one piece of advice, and that means, there's probably no rush or whatever. Like, get the track in advance and practice something, get into the zone, know what you're going to do going into it, or come up with 5 different ideas, so that if you have to do a day in the studio with your buddy and the engineer or something, you go, what about this part, or what about this part? I came up with this, and you've already practiced it, and you've got something that you're comfortable with, maybe leaving a little bit of room for just improv on the day to see what, don't paint yourself too much into these are my parts corner, Yeah, to do what you got to do to make yourself feel comfortable. If you stand 10 feet away from your amp with the cable, you have 2 milliseconds latency. That's correct. Yeah. If you want none, you got to tape your head to the speaker. True. That's true. Okay, I think I'm pretty far back in the chat, or am I? Maybe I'm not. Anyway, I'm just going to go down to the bottom here. Just bought the Tone X Brown Sound Collection 7879 for use of my DAW. Sounds fab. Really does. Sounds great. Those guys did a great job on that. All the Eddie Van Halen tones you could possibly want, recreated in the digital realm. They've done a very good job. They do sound really good. Looking forward to Friedman's AC30 next year. Yeah, it's no secret he's going to do one of those, and it'll be cool. I don't think there's enough AC30 out there, actually, like amps that are that thing that really do it. And, it's one of my favorite amplifiers of all time, and I feel like it's underrepresented out there. There's lots of Marshall-y stuff, Plexi stuff, and high gain stuff and all that, but good AC30 is magic, for so many things. So it'll be good to have more of that out there. What about the new Fractal AM4? We've been talking about it a little bit. I've learned a few things about it. It doesn't have the pitch block or the Plex reverb. Those are some things that are different from the VP4, but seems great. Great price point. I mean, let's be honest, Axe Effects, the 3 and even FM9 and FM3, they're like kitchen sink devices for a lot of people. Some people just need a good, a deluxe reverb with an overdrive and a chorus or something, and it's like, so for a lot of people, maybe it's overkill, like the other units. So they brought in something that I think it's $599 US, that probably does most of what 80% of guitar players out there would need. So, pretty cool, right? Yeah. 09 Records says, thank you. I want to contribute something meaningful. Yeah, then do what, take the time you need, It's okay to be the kind of musician that prepares, Like, I'll give you an example. Neil Peart, he was a guy that always prepared, and then came in and laid his parts down in basically one take. He was legendary for that. There wasn't experimentation that went on in the studio. He liked to write his parts. He liked to know exactly who he was going to play. He was a practiced musician. That's the kind of player he was. But nobody ever accused him of not being a great drummer. He's a legend. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being that kind of musician if that's what makes you comfortable. He's a perfect example. Would it be great to be an amazing improviser and come up with brilliant ideas off the top of your head like it was no big deal? Of course, we all strive for that, but don't feel like you have to do that or you're not worthy. Because Neil's an example of somebody that just didn't do that ever. His whole career, he always prepared. So I'll tell you a story actually about that. Vertical Horizon was one of the only bands that he ever recorded with outside of Rush. Right, the only studio sessions that he did. He became friends with Matt Scannell, and so I've talked with. I'm buddies with Matt, and Sean Hurley is a bandmate of mine in Fight for Fighting, and Sean was in Vertical when Neil came in to play on some Vertical Horizon songs, and I think that some changes were made on the day in the studio to a section, like, oh, I've decided to add a bridge here or something. Neil's like, that totally threw him for a loop. He was like, what do you mean? I've rehearsed my part. Like, this is my part. These are the drums. Like, you can't change. Like, it was a bit of that vibe, I'm sure he rolled with it and like whatever happened. But he was like, that totally threw him off his game. That's what just because that's not what they do in Rush, oops, sorry, hit the computer. So, it's just interesting, right? That would be the case, that's the kind of thing that it's somebody like a Tim Pierce or would be, that's the gig when you're a studio guy, is you fly like with whatever's happening, and just you're constantly evolving and coming up with ideas based on whatever's coming at you in the moment, and you can do it and do it well. That's the art of great studio musician. But a lot of players don't operate that way. If you're in a band, that's not necessarily the way it works. You come up with your parts and you play your parts, and those are your parts. And you go in the studio and you track them, you rehearse them a lot. And maybe that's part of what sounds like a band, to me. I'll give you an example. I've been thinking about this lately because for a certain song example, the Whitesnake versions of Here I Go Again. So if you're familiar with that particular song, of course, it was on the, there's multiple different versions of that song that came out over the years. There's the 87 album version. There's even a single version of it that was different than that came out like the same year. I can't even remember the timeline, but so of course it's a unique track on that record because John Sykes never laid down a solo on it. So they had Adrian Vandenberg play the solo on it. The 87 Whitesnake album version of Here I Go Again has John Sykes on rhythm guitar, playing all the rhythm guitar parts, and then Adrian playing the solo, right? But then there was a single mix of the song that came out. I don't even know why they decided to do that. Just freshen it or something, or do a little something different with it. That has Dan Huff playing on it. And the difference between the guitar playing the rhythm guitars, and it's still Adrian on the solo, I do believe, might even be the same solo as the album version, but the rhythm guitars are all different. And the version of the song is so like, it's the difference. Dan Huff played the guitars on the single version, and it definitely has a sound. It's got like, a thing. And Dan Huff's an amazing guitar player. He's obviously, he's a legend, studio legend and giant and everything else, and producer and everything else. Which version do I prefer though? I prefer the Sykes version because it sounds like cohesive band playing. The version that has Dan on it, the single version, sounds to me like they went in sort of with a chart of the song, basically sort of learned it, and then came up with parts right then on the spot. Kind of like studio guys would, not really rehearsed, not really like, so it's got all this stuff in it that's different to the punches of the, you guys know what I'm talking about. If you know the song, go listen to the two versions if you want. Let's do some homework. Go listen to the single version of Here I Go Again, and then the 87 album version of it, and tell me which one you like better next week, or maybe tell me now if you're familiar with both. But all the stuff that happened in the single version, I'm not as much of a fan of as I am of the Sykes rhythm guitar version, and I wish John Sykes had just had because I'm a huge Sykes fan, but I'm a little biased here too because I'm a huge John Sykes fan, but I wish he'd had the chance to just actually rip a solo on it. Or maybe he did, and then they decided they didn't like it and they got rid of it or something. I don't know, because he was already out of the picture with the band. I don't know what the story is with that, but anyway, all of his little idiosyncrasies that he came up with on the 87 album version, because he didn't write the song. It was an old song that was around before John ever played with Whitesnake. But obviously, he had time to get used to the song and play it and come up with his style of like, more like band guitar player guy like Sykes was. He was a stylist that just had this friggin', amazing control and all that in his hands, right? It just sounds like what Whitesnake is supposed to sound like or whatever, right? As opposed to the single version. No, not ripping on Dan or anything. It's just the parts they came up with that day. It sounds more like studio guys that came up with an arrangement of a song in the studio that day and went, well, let's do this. Does that make sense? Like, so nothing. What I'm getting at is there's nothing wrong with being a band guy that develops your parts over days and weeks and months and rehearsals and locks it in and then goes in the studio and plays that, and so God, I can get long-winded on this stuff, right? Super chat there. Great show, Pete. Hey, thanks. I'm really glad I decided to do this, by the way, because I was, last week I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be in any shape to do this after this operation, but luckily I am. I'm happy about that. Nobody seems to talk or know about Todd Sharp amps. I've heard some demos and they're really amazing. I don't know about them. Always something new out there. I would love to check them out sometime, though. Turn me on to them. I got to look up these Todd Sharp amps now. Something else I got to know about. Thanks for the super chat. Steven, I like the Sykes version. Me too. Yeah. Definitely like the original version of Here I Go Again. Not keen on the later versions. So by original, do you mean like the 1983 or something, or 82 or whenever it came out? Because there's that whole, yeah, right. This one, the 1982 Saints and Sinners, different thing. It's got that kind of, sort of foot in the 70s sound. That's more like that. Yeah. I know what you're talking. And for me, I came to the band a little bit later, so I'm actually a fan of the 87 version. But I know what you mean. And had you, if I was a little bit older and I had known the the version that you're most familiar with. The first Whitesnake I heard was the Slide It In album. That would be like when was that? 84, something like that, 85, 83, 84, 85, something like that. That was the first, that was my first awareness of. So it's always whatever you hear when you're 14 years old that you bond with the most, right? Seems like. So yeah. Original is better in the hate the single version. Yeah, I don't hate, but I just think it has, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I hear it as. I hear it as like studio guys arranging the song that day in the studio. And that's the way they laid it down. Like talented guys, this is the parts we came up with, and we're going to do these punches, it's just not as, I don't know. Yeah. People say Eddie improvised more of his solos than he actually did. Pretty sure as a tight gigging band, many of his solos were essential part. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of his stuff you can hear on live, bootleg stuff, and a lot of those licks. I mean, Eddie was a guy with a big bag of tricks, like a lot of, stuff going on there, but a lot of it was under the fingers. Like you'll hear, oh, there's that lick, or there's that lick, repetition of things that's most of us guitar players, right? He just had a massive catalog of things to draw on. I can't hear Here I Go Again without reminding me of Amateur's Night at a Gentleman's Club back in the 80s. That's pretty good memories, though. Come on. Amateur's Night at the Gentleman's Club. Oh, that's a classic. Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying you like the Saints and Sinners versions. Cheesy pop version is lame. Yeah. Congrats on your surgery. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm excited. Have you tried the Synergy 20 watts? I have. How is the loop compared to your PT15? I didn't spend any time with the loop, to be honest. The head I thought is really cool. The way it's implemented, the IRs and everything, the simple clean, all that stuff is cool. But I did the Marshall JMP module video using that, and I using the 20 watt head, and I thought it was cool. But I didn't get too into the loop or anything like that, because it was really a review of the module. It wasn't, doing the head or anything like that. So, but seems cool. I mean, I'm sure the loop is well designed. I know the folks that work on, on that stuff. I'm sure it's pretty good. Although I will say that the loop in the PT15IR is excellent. It's a tube loop. It's a little different than the one in the PT100, but John never messes around with effects loops. Like, I can guarantee you that in the PT15, the loops are, and the 100 and everything, they're always properly buffered. You can run long cable lengths all the way out to a pedal board and all the way back and not worry about it. All that stuff that John really doesn't. The loop is always in some amps, I feel like loops are afterthoughts, and in John's amps, they're always like a lot of thought is put into the loop. So for what it's worth, that's all Sir amps. If they've got a loop, he's agonized over it, because it can be a point of problems and loss, if it's not done right. So not being an integral part of the design of other amps, I can't speak to, but there's a number of amps over the years I've encountered where there's been bleed with loops, or you feel like you're losing something when you plug something in there, that it's just the tone's not quite as cool. Those are things that I've encountered over the years. It's never the case with Sirs. So yeah. Just bought a Ruby from Reverb. That's the AC30 modeling pedal from UA. Next screen said it was sold. I thought I'd missed it. Skipped to eBay and got one. Turns out Reverb one was sold. So you've got two coming. Well, I guess you can resell one of them. Probably won't lose any money on it. Are those stock EVH guitars around 2K any good, or do you have to do a bunch of... I didn't do anything to them, and I played gigs on them, I mean, the only thing I did was put in a trem stopper on one of them. It's from Brexall. They're fun. I have one right here. I have one sitting here. I don't have. I've only got a few guitars at home, but this happens to be one of the ones that's sitting here. So here's a Striper. Striper. That's kind of funny. Striper. If Striper played one, this would be the guitar. You know, because the yellow and black attack and all that. So the interesting thing on this one is that the angle of however the Floyd was mounted on this one to the body, it hits the body perfectly, and I didn't have to put like it backs into the body perfectly, and I didn't have to put a stopper in the back. But my red and white and black one, you know, like the Frankie one, I needed to put a stopper. The bridge is a little higher off the body wherever the neck is sitting, and it just would the Floyd would angle back, and then I couldn't do the detuner. So on this one, it's a little hard actually. Now that I think about it, the detuner on this one is it pushed in right now. Well, it actually is hard to do. That's the only thing with the detuner, you know, because of it's quite low to the body, so to actually pull it out is a little bit tough. Oh yeah, it is a little tough actually. Oh, but I've got the fine tuner down, which I'm not supposed to. Right. So if I back this fine tuner out, because you're not supposed to use the fine tuner at all if you use the detuner on one of these. You know, I don't know if you guys know that or not, but what you're supposed to do is tune up the guitar with the nut, you know, locking nut open, fine tuner all the way out, tune it to D, and then lock, you know, and then you should push it in and it should be E. And if it's not, you adjust the little set screw on the detuner. That's why it's a little low to the body right now because I got the fine tuner down. Not supposed to have that. So anyway, long story short, that's the only thing that I had to do on the other one. This guitar plays just fine. It plays great. You know, that's that thin sort of. It's not exactly like a Charvel profile. To me, it's always a little thinner than what I remember those necks being, these EVH necks. But it's good. It's a low, you know, compound radius. You know, super low profile, kind of wide. I mean, I think it's 1 and 11/16 nut. I don't think it's a 5/8, you know. And they're just fun, man. That's kind of why I have it around the house. You get up in the morning and you go to make coffee and you look at it and you smile because it's an Eddie guitar. Pick up and play a few licks. You know, it's just cool. It's just like, you know, it's the stuff that made me jazz when I was like 14 years old. So that's what I'll say about having one around is like, they're just cool. You hang it on the wall, or you look at it and you smile. It's like Eddie Van Halen right there, you know. So it's just that's worth its weight in basswood. Sorry, I had to. Some super chats. It's been a great time, and we've had some good. There's 276 people online and stuff. I'll go another maybe 15 minutes, and then I think I better take a little break from the computer and the screen and stuff. For my eyes, but it's been really great, and I thank you guys so much for the super chats. You guys are keeping me in coffee. Oh, I got a little coffee secret to tell you guys in a second here. So let's do this question here, and then I'll. Oh, that was the Todd Sharp one. I already answered that one. Sorry. So there's a couple more here I haven't got to. So I'll get to a couple super chats, and then I'll tell you something. The little coffee secret. Peter Martin, seeing you in a few weeks in Landuno. Where the heck is that? Sitting 3 rows from the front. Are you available for a handshake afterwards and sign my CD? We always do a meet and greet with CRS, so which I really enjoy. I always enjoy meeting people that come see the show. So yeah, I'll be out in the lobby afterwards. Come out and see me and say hello and introduce yourself, please. And thank you for the super chat. I'll see you soon. Asheville guy says, can't believe you're here after the surgery. Thanks for being here. Glad it was successful. I've been using the Quad Cortex Capture 2 and have incredible results capturing my BE50 Deluxe upgrade and capture realism. Isn't it amazing? It's really good, the new Capture 2. Like, it's noticed, like, everything just feels great, sounds great, detail, the whole 9 yards. It's really cool. Like, it's all the way there, I think, now. Not that it was almost there before, so close, but and I always said this because people are like, oh yeah, it's always the latest and greatest, you know. But it's like, no, before I said it's ever so slightly different. It's very close, but not quite. I said that in all the videos I did about capturing before, you know. Always said I felt like it was a little lower gain, a little bit less top end, you know, all that stuff. But now, if you watch my video on it, it's amazing. So Neural's knocking it out of the park for sure. And so thank you so much for the super chat, man. And I'm glad you're having fun with the Capture 2. I am too. Yeah. Where are the cats? You know, that's a great point. Why haven't you seen Toby today? Toby, where are you? You want to see him? I'll get him for you. Toby. Toby, I have a request for your presence. So, sorry. If we're home, you gotta make an appearance, at least. It's the least you can do. I had a friggin' operation. You just been lying around the house. You say hi to the nice people. He was sleeping. He's all hot. There he is. My big boy. Isn't he cute? Just look at him. He's all sleepy. Oh, sorry, buddy. He's the best. I'm going to put him up here in this little cat tree basket thing that he's got over here. Here you go, bud. Take a nap. Be all right. Sorry to disturb. Thanks for being a good sport. Sit up there and be the king of the castle. Just look at him over there. There he is. All right. The other one makes himself scarce all the time. He's probably sleeping in the closet or something. So he's still scared and feral. But he's a cool little guy too. Makes me laugh every day. Are you still interested in offloading your 412 cases? No, I actually need another one, I think, believe it or not. Yeah. Anyways, super cute. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Take care. Keep us updated. I will. And what else? Just looking through a few of the last comments here. Ben Coombs. Hey, buddy. What's up there in Canada? Just a heads up, he's live tonight at 8 p.m. If you guys can't get your fill of YouTube, go see Ben tonight. Coming to you from Ontario. Record Store Day, about a 95 Van Halen live at Wembley record. It has a lot of energy. Live at Wembley? Is it like a bootleg situation? Never heard of that. Interesting. That was kind of the Van Halen was still sounding like on that tour, like really, fresh. Eddie was playing great on that tour. Yeah. And Sonic Blue says, happy the surgery was a success. Hope you have an awesome 2026. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you. I know it's almost 2026. Isn't that crazy? We've been through 25 years of this century. Oh my God. Feels like just yesterday that it was year 2K. Doesn't it now? Didn't buy a guitar on Black Friday. I just bought clothes, man. No guitars. I found a guitar today, though. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, maybe. It's a maybe guitar. It's like a maybe I should do that kind of guitar. So, anyways, what else? What do I think about the Music Man Majesty guitar? So that's the Patrici, right? They're like the cool thing about being a Steve Vai or a John Petrucci is you get to be a stylist and be in this role. Like there's only one Steve Vai, there's only one John Petrucci, there's only one Joe Satriani, and these fellas, they get to make a signature guitar that doesn't need to be a jack of all trades. I mean, it can be, but it's like they can look very unique and be like when you see those guitars, you're like, as soon as you see a gem, you're like, that's Steve Vai guitar. As soon as you see a Majesty, you're like, that's John Petrucci's signature model because it's got this unique shape and stuff. I think Ernie Ball guitars are really well made, and if you're a fan of his and you're a fan of the the things that he goes for, then why not go for it? I like signature models that are. I mean, I've got obviously the Stripe Eddie Van Halen guitar because that makes me happy. I'm such an Eddie fan. So if maybe if Petrucci's your that's your thing, then go for it. I mean, you're not going to get a bad guitar. I wouldn't say. The Music Man guitars are exceptional. So. I think that's the, if these guitars are made for fans of the, big fans and aficionados of those artists, and just to get a little bit closer to that thing and it's, I can identify with that because I've got, 3 or 4 Van Halen style guitars, 5 Van Halen guitars, maybe. And I would love a Steve Vai, Green Meanie or something, Charvel. I would love, because these are just, or a John Sykes, Les Paul custom with all the stuff, the chrome pickup rings and all that stuff, So yeah, I think it's just fun, they're fun pieces of art and memorabilia that you can also play and use. So I get it. I get the attraction and the, loads of flu in the UK. Get yourself plenty of hand gel. I'll tell you something that I use. I was going to tell you a coffee secret, and then I'm going to tell you another cool thing. I wanted to do both. Just give me 2 seconds here to get 2 things I want to show you. What is this stuff? There it is. Okay, little show and tell. Show and tell. Peak show and tell here. This is the first one. This is, let's do the coffee first, and then I'll reference the post that's up on the screen there. Cometeer coffee. Okay, this is freeze-dried coffee from your favorite flash frozen. Sorry, not freeze-dried, flash frozen, I should say. From various coffee vendors. So this is the Clatch coffee, and it comes to you like this. It's flash frozen in these capsules, and if you order it from Cometeer, I guess cometeer.com or something, Cometeer, Cometeer, you order it from them, it'll come like in I think it's like a dry ice or something like that. They'll ship it to you. Or if you've got a Sprouts market close to you, maybe there's other markets too, but some Sprouts markets have these in the frozen section. What you do is you just take it and put this in some hot water, heat up like a mug of water or something like that, put it in the microwave for 2 minutes so it's nice and hot. Drop this in there and sits in there for 20 seconds or so and melts enough. Heat up a little more water, maybe like just like a half a mug of water, minute and a half in the microwave. Open this up and drop it in there. Put in a little cream or whatever you add to your coffee. Absolutely delicious. Tastes like, and I'm a coffee snob. I like this Clatch one in particular too. It's unbelievable tasting. Like the freshest, unbelievable. So really good. Try this. Give it a go. Incredible tasting. Not cheap, but good. Well, that's my little coffee secret for the day. Cometeer flash frozen. This stuff, if you're in the UK, is unbelievable. I've used this all year, this bottle. First Defense. So what it's supposed to do, this is just Vicks. You buy it at Boots or whatever. Have you tried this, guys, that are in the UK? Give it a go. You squirt it up your nose. It makes an acid environment in the back of your nose that evidently is unfriendly, bacteria and viruses. So at the first sign of, you wake up in the morning, like, ooh, you get that little pain in the back where you feel like, I think I'm getting something that could spread to, this stuff, man, all year long. I've maybe 7 times throughout the year, I've felt that, oh shit, like I'm getting a little something like and it's going to, and then it goes into your throat and then you start coughing and the whole 9 yards. This stuff, I haven't had a cold all year, knock on whatever, or the flu. I haven't. Every sign I've used this stuff, squirted it up there for a day, maybe 3 times that day when I'm feeling it. Gone the next day. Gone. Haven't had a cold all year. I've been on tour all year. Airplanes. I spent 4 or 5 months in Europe this year. Spent 2.5 months in Japan. On tour in the States for a few weeks. No colds. Not one all year. Now I'm going to get sick as a dog but I'm knocking on my table. Hope not. But this is the jam, man. And so, yeah, it's supposed to be, and if it's funny, if you look up reviews of this stuff online, First Defense from Vicks, A lot of people say the same thing. They're like, can't believe it. Like, this shit works. That's my secrets. Coffee and immunity for the day. Now I should go. But it's been fun. What's going on next week? Let me take a look at, let me see. Next week, where's my calendar? You ever look at your phone, you look at all the apps, and you're like, can't see, like, I know there was a calendar. Oh, there it is. The 14th. Right. I'm on an airplane next week, flying back to LA. I don't know what time I'll be at. So next week, I'm going to have to change the time. Might do it the evening, maybe, of the 14th. Either that or it might have to be on the 15th. But I've got a gig in Chicago next week on the 13th. So I'm flying out for that on the 12th. So yeah, I knew there was something about next Sunday. So bear with me. I'll put up a watch page when I can do it. If I can get back, it's just going to depend. Maybe it's a thing I can do from the airport in the morning or something like that. So it's a little touch and go. But anyway, as always, I'm going to try and be here at the advertised allotted time. It's always a Sunday that I'm traveling on, it seems. Last super chat here. A friend of mine bought the house of Robin Gibb in Miami, and apparently before he took it over, there were still some Eddie guitars hanging on the wall. Seriously, Robin Gibb. That's so interesting. My friend Wayne, bass player, believe it or not, in CRS, MD for Robin Gibb for many years. That's interesting. I wonder if he knows about that house in Miami with Eddie Van Halen guitar. Seems like the kind of thing Wayne would know. Another super chat there for the Recovery Coffee. Thank you. Appreciate that for that super chat. Best wishes to you, and thanks for all you give to this community. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Hey, this has been really fun. Thank you guys for all your support, and your kind wishes. And I got so many nice messages on the Instagram video I put up yesterday. And I'm sure that was a lot of you guys and stuff. And it's just, you guys are the best. So, really appreciate you. Here's another one. Congratulations on your procedure. Thank you. We love you like a brother. Hey, I feel the same way about you. That's a nice note to leave it on. Love what we do here together, and can't thank you guys enough for always tuning in. And I'll do it for as long as I'm able. Okay, everybody, have a terrific week, and thanks for being here. Thanks for your super chats. Thanks for your support. Try the Cometeer coffee. I guarantee I've got no endorsement. I buy the stuff at the store myself. It's just delicious. I think I'm a little coffeeed out right now. I'm a little jittery. Had a lot of espresso, but I feel great. I'm going to go walk around some more in a minute. All right. Everybody have a terrific week. Take care. Over and out. See you soon.